Welcome to the Trust in Mae Podcast, where we have real talk and ask hard questions to inspire healing or just more trauma humor. Either way, trust Mae, it's probably going to hurt. So, welcome. Thank you for being here. Gonna just keep it casual. Again, I'm gonna talk to you for a little bit just to kind of get you in the flow of having the conversation, and then I can edit and cut later. So, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
How you feeling?
A little nervous, but it's okay.
What makes it most nerve-wracking for you?
Just talking about myself
Well, that's
and God,
well,
and
those
just
are my favorite things about you. You and
those are the things that I'm not comfortable talking about.
God. Oh yeah. I did voluntold you, didn't I? Okay, my bad. Okay, so we'll start with something easy. Well, welcome to the Trust in May podcast. I'm here with one of my absolute best friends in the whole world, Miss Emma Schiefer.
Hi.
Yay, Lola, say yay. And I'm with Lola. Thank you for being here. Just want to start kind of open the floor and let you tell us what you want or don't want about yourself. Um, who you are, where you're from, where you're at now, what you doing.
So I'm Emma. I grew up in South Texas, down in the valley. It's close to the border, about 30 minutes from the border. So grew up around a lot of drugs, all of that kind of stuff. Come to find out, so just come to find out as an adult that my father was actually a drug dealer. We were, as girls, me and my sister were very sheltered. So we're a family of five kids and my mom and dad. So it was three brothers and my sister and myself. And the girls were sheltered. So we weren't allowed to do anything, very protective. Um, well, that really started. I'm gonna be all over the place because that kinda started when we got a little bit when my dad, my dad, cheated on my mom with my godparents,
Mm.
and so when that happened, um, we were basically cut off from everything. We weren't allowed to do anything, so that was around the age of 12.
Like you
Um
were more sheltered or cut off from.
More we were like everything we weren't allowed. So before the age of 12 when we had though so it was my godparents' daughter, that he, had the affair with and he left for a couple of weeks with. Before that, we were able to go to their house. I mean,
Yeah.
like, our life was surrounded by my godparents and their kids. Now their kids were older, so my god sister was 18 at the time when my dad had an affair with her, and I was 12.
Mm.
So since about the age of 5, 6, we were back and forth. They lived like I would say a block. We're out in the country, so we didn't have blocks, but it was
Yeah.
about a block away. And so it's like, hey, look, can we go over there, after school? And if we said her name, it was like, yeah. But if we said the other sister's name, it was no. So we learned
Uh,
to say her name, not understanding at the time
mm-hmm.
and why that was. And I think we were drinking by the age of 9, is drinking and smoking at that time
Mm.
because they were older, and so we were
Yeah.
hanging out with them. And then when my dad, we came home one day from a football game. It was my brother and my sister and the other goddaughter, and to my mom yelling at my godfather's house that couldn't he do anything, and he's like, she's 18.
Oh
I
my
can't do
goodness.
anything anymore. And they walked out. Her and my dad walked out, and my dad was gone for about 2
I can
weeks.
imagine how that rocked your world.
Um, I don't think I realized at that time I didn't trust I know now after being with God and healing with God
Mm-hmm.
that who I became because of that, because I didn't trust anyone anymore.
Mm,
It's like if you
mm-hmm.
can't I always said if you can't trust your best friend, because I thought of her as my best friend.
Yeah.
If you can't trust your best friend and you can't trust your dad, who can you trust?
Fair question.
So at that time, I didn't trust anyone,
Mm-hmm.
so I didn't have, I really didn't have friends or anything. I even fought with my sister all the time.
Yeah.
Just, I didn't want anybody around me. And then my dad also, when that happened, when my mom let him come back, um, we weren't allowed to go anywhere. We weren't allowed to do anything.
Yeah.
It was like completely, when I say
Yeah.
cut off, we weren't able, it's like no after school stuff, no, you come straight home, you just, you know, and there was also abuse.
Mm.
So it's like you didn't want anyone to come over. You didn't,
Yep.
the little bit of friends you did have, the one
Yep.
or two friends that you did have, you didn't want them coming over because it's like you never knew what you were going to get when your dad was drinking.
Yep.
He could hit. I'm like, I was worried that he was going to hit one of my friends. So it's like,
Right. Pretty true.
that one friend who never would go away. I had one friend, her name was Christy. She never would disappear. She always wanted to. And she's the one that I ended up leaving with
Mm,
at 18, my senior year. Her mom's like, that's enough because he had done something else. And so I finished my senior year living with them.
wow.
Um and went into the military to run away.
That's right. We have a veteran on our hands right here. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Went into the Navy. And during all of that time, I know growing up, we knew we were raised Catholic, so we kind of knew God. But I always like, who is this pastor to tell me
Hmm.
that I'm forgiven, or that five Hail Marys
Yeah.
and so
A
many Our
man, above
Fathers,
all, a man telling you to
right?
trust. Yeah.
That I'm forgiven. This
Hmm.
all I have to do is this. And I'm like, I always questioned that, always had issues with that. Oh, and then with what my dad did, I never wanted to trust a guy again.
Hmm.
And so I craziness how that happens. When I got married, when I was in the military, I ended up pregnant, um and didn't want to get married. Um Funny, between his mother and my mother, they're like, you can't do this on your own.
Hmm.
And at 8 months, I finally said, "Fine, I'll get married."
Terca. That's why you're my one of my best friends.
So I ended up getting married, and I was stationed in Hawaii, had my oldest one who is now in the Army, and then we ended up a year and a year and so Dalton is a year and 18 months, something like that, younger than Blake. So we had him, and he was born with the cleft lip and palate and had his medical stuff that we ended up getting out. And my ex, that one was an interesting one. Say that you don't want anything to do with your father
Mm,
or being near that. And I ended up, even though he was never physically,
sure.
totally physically, and I say totally physically because there was some shoves and stuff, but it
Hmm.
wasn't the black eyes or stuff that my dad did. So it was okay.
Hmm. Oh, it's not that bad, right?
Yeah,
Not that
it wasn't that
bad.
bad. But to come to think about it, it's like the narcissism, the gaslighting, all of those things that moving me away from my family,
Hmm.
keeping me away
Oh, that
from, like that.
isolation.
Total
Yeah.
isolation where
Dang.
I was so dependent on him. And then we ended up at one point moving back to Texas, and I started to get my ground again because
Yeah.
get my feet again. I was closer to family. Um,
Were you practicing your Catholic faith in all this time?
no,
Oh,
because
okay.
he didn't believe. So he grew up as a Baptist kid. His
Okay.
father was a pastor, and they had something happen that the father walked away from church, and so my ex had a bad taste of the
Yeah.
church as well.
Church hurt.
Church
Yeah.
had a bad taste. My father-in-law is now back in the church. My
Okay.
ex-father-in-law is back in the church going regularly in.
Nice.
But they had the church hurt, and so we always said we weren't going to do that.
Yeah.
We weren't getting back into the church. And then when we moved here in Houston 2000, I got closer to my family. I started reaching out, and then he was cheating. Oh, my dad. This one incident with my dad is so clear. This man, we went down there for Christmas,
Hmm.
and it's 1 o'clock at night, Christmas Eve,
Hmm.
and they're not home yet. And it's like
Both of them?
all the men,
Oh, man.
all the men.
Oof.
Well,
Oof.
we knew where they were. They were
Yeah.
at the bar.
Yeah.
So,
Can't
you
be that
know,
many down the border.
yes, that was their favorite one. It was called Pennies.
Oh,
Yeah.
shout out. Just kidding.
No, it's gone now. It's gone. Well, all the husbands are out at this, and we have the kids. It was my sister and my sister-in-law, and all the men are out there, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna go. We're going to get these men.
Hmm.
So no, my sister, my mom, and my sister-in-law came with and me went to the bar, and none of them. They're like they were all strong enough to go,
Hmm.
but none of them wanted to actually go into the bar.
Okay.
Like they drove
Okay.
us. We
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
went
They're like,
together.
yeah, that
Yeah,
is
let's
my
go.
go.
And now I'm like, I'm the one that goes into the bar. My
Uh-oh.
dad's got a woman on his lap. My
Uh-oh.
husband my ex now is talking to some girl. My brother is in the other corner with the girl.
My
Uh,
dad's probably back there too. I'm just
yeah,
kidding.
yeah. So I get in and my dad shoves this girl off of his lap
Oh.
and basically tells me that, what am I doing there? What the are you doing?
Mhm.
And I'm like, it's late. It's time to go home. And he's like, aquí mando yo.
Oh,
Like
goodness.
I'm
Yep.
I'm in charge here. He's with me, basically
Mhm.
saying my husband's with him. So it don't matter what he's doing. I need to get out and wait for them.
My Atlanta. Wait, what'd you do? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
The Emma I know, it could go one way or the other.
My older brother, he was the calm
Yeah.
one. He's like, "Emma, I will get them to go home.
Oh.
Just go."
Oh.
So I got in the car and I left.
Oh.
And they shortly came home.
Yeah.
But that incident was one of the things that when my ex was cheating, he told me, and so I knew my ex was cheating. He was
Mhm.
talking to his ex-girlfriend he's currently married to in
Mhm.
Georgia, and he was with this girl that he was working with, and he was calling me fat. I was 145 at the time, so about 20 pounds lighter than I am now. I
Sounds.
was weighing 20 pounds. For Christmas, he got me a gym membership
Oh my gosh.
to lose weight.
No.
Yes.
No.
Well, that backfired on him.
Uh-oh. What happened?
I cheated with him.
I love it. See, she's keeping it real. That's what we are here for.
So I ended up having an affair because he
Mhm.
told me
Mhm.
that I could never do it
Yeah.
because I was not strong enough to, that I could never do it, and if I ever tried to, he would know.
Have you ever tried to cheat on him?
If I ever tried to cheat
So he
on
was
him,
like kind of like antagonizing you, like you can't cheat.
because at this point I was already between the gaslighting, the control that he had on me, all
Mhm.
of those things. I was not who I am now. I was
Yeah.
not the person. Even my sister-in-law always says, "Who I don't
Yeah.
understand how you could the person I know to be like that because I allowed
Right.
that to happen."
Right. Different time.
Different times.
Before Jesus. That's our BC, before Christ days.
Yes, BC. I have a lot of BCs. So I cheated on him, and he kept trying to tell me that. So then I told him, I said, I cheated on you. And
Thanks for the gym
he
membership.
yeah, he could not believe it. He could not believe it. When it finally registered to him, he called my dad.
Oh my gosh.
His first call was to my dad. Your daughter cheated on me. And my dad, I don't know what he was expecting my dad to do. My dad's like,
Okay.
so you do too? What do you want me to do about it?
Yeah.
Good for her.
Yeah. Yeah. No surprise there.
I was like,
I mean, at least he wasn't a hypocrite.
"Mm, yeah,
So, okay,
hey,
so let me ask you this. That's a wonderful that you unpacked all of that. My question though is because I know who you are today, and I know the amazing marriage that you have today.
yes.
I know the amazing faith that you have today. I know the after Jesus Emma. Tell me, what was the catalyst of what really changed your walk with God? And what would you say is the hardest part of that change? Because
Yeah,
I mean that's deep rooted from childhood into your pretty much first serious relationship, right? That you immediately became a mom and a wife.
yeah. Um, so I didn't so all of that, I'm still in my 20s at this time. We got divorced shortly after that. He couldn't handle me having an affair,
Mm,
even though he had been cheating. 6 months later, after we get divorced, he's married to his current wife.
but he
Uh,
couldn't handle it.
but he couldn't handle
Yeah,
me cheating
yeah.
on him. It actually took quite a few more stupid relationships of get I actually have 18 stitches from another abusive relationship. I ended up at one relationship where I just left with the boxes that I could carry
Mm,
in a cop car,
mm-hmm,
um, because I was scared for my life.
mm-hmm,
Um, when my mom got sick, so I was in Georgia at the time because we ended up back in Georgia. My mom got sick, and I always said I was never moving back to Texas because Texas had so many bad
yeah.
memories. I loved my mom, but my dad was too much. And then just everything with my ex-husband here, and just nothing good was ever in Texas.
Mm-hmm,
Then mom got cancer and she was coming to MD Anderson. I knew God. I knew of him. I
Right.
knew, growing up a little bit of Catholic, a little bit, those few times that we would go. And I did try to, search, but it was always never nothing comfortable. Um, on my way here was, I love the way God put seeds with different people who planted seeds in me, who's like,
Mhm.
oh, you're going to Houston, there's this church. My first church was Lakewood. I know a lot of people have negative things, and is it there are some things that are definitely not sound.
Sure.
Um, but people had put that into me.
God will
Is like
use
there's
anyone and anywhere.
there's Lakewood, you're gonna be right there. And so when my mom was sick, I moved here. I left everything. I had to do my hygiene license. And to move here, I had to use all of my 401k to move here, to get my license, because the license itself was six grand just to transfer.
Dental hygiene for the
Oh, I'm a
record.
dental
She
hygienist.
knows how to clean herself.
I'm a dental hygienist. So transferring that license and getting license in Texas cost a lot.
Yeah.
And then just moving my whole life, having a moving truck and all of that kind of stuff
Yeah.
took everything I had. So when I got a job and even did my apartment, everything was online because
Mhm.
I needed to have a job waiting for me in order to be able to make this move.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and so on my drive here, I think it was one of the first times I prayed,
Mhm.
and I'm like, "Lord, I don't know why I'm doing this." You know that scripture of, love your parents, you
Honor your
do
mother and
honor your
father.
mom, and it's like I'm honoring my mom by doing this.
Yeah.
I am moving here because I want to be able to help her. I said, "I don't know what you have, but help."
Yeah.
So that was the first time I'd ever really truly prayed. And so I moved here. Um, she left
Mm.
4 months after I moved here. She left me. Um, so I literally had nobody because my family's all in the valley.
Yeah.
So I was here alone
In Houston.
in Houston, all by myself.
Mm.
Didn't really know anyone. I had some coworkers, but I didn't like the job that I got.
Yeah.
The doctor, the doctor ended up being med board or dental boarded out. Some for Medicaid fraud, all
Oh
sorts of
my gosh.
craziness.
Oh my Lanta.
All sorts of craziness. So by that time I when that started, I had just moved to the Dr. Vaughn's office, Dr.
Oh, where you
Contemporary
were.
Dental, where I
Yeah.
was, and I had just moved. When I moved there before my mom passed, it was literally 2 weeks before I moved. And I told them, this is what's going on. If I have to, they're like, okay, we'll work with you.
Yeah.
They worked with me. It was all God worked out that way because my mom just finally said, I'm done.
Mhm.
And she passed.
What year
Uh,
was this?
2012.
2012. So 12 years ago.
12 years ago. Um, she passed in July. August in the morning, one morning, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, I wake up with the urge to go to church.
Mm.
I need to go to church. I'm like, I don't know any churches. I don't know any churches.
Mhm.
What am I would go to church? What I don't who church? Obviously it's a
Yeah.
Sunday.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I had that. Someone had told me Lakewood.
Mhm.
My even my aunt had mentioned. So there was a few people who had mentioned Lakewood. So I'm like, okay. So I look up the time and I'm like, oh, it's not. They don't start till 8:30. Good. I'm gonna go back to sleep. Well, sure enough, 7 o'clock. I'm waking up. I need to go to church. So it's like the Lord woke me back up
Oh man, when he's ready.
when He's ready. So I went to church. I'm
Mm.
like, okay, that was good. I went to church. I did what
Yeah.
I felt like I
Yeah.
needed.
Check.
Checkmate.
Mhm. Yeah.
Wednesday.
Fixes everything, right?
I went once. It was good. Don't get me wrong. It was good. You know.
Yeah.
Wednesday come around and I have that thing of I need to go to church. I'm like, who goes to church on 2 days a week?
Yeah.
That's not
Yeah.
no. My last patient of the day, who I did not know, it's first time I'm meeting her. I'm new at this office. First time meeting her. I have their chart. I didn't have it because she was being seen by the doctor. She's the guest relations at Lakewood.
Oh, okay.
So she invites me and I'm like, oh,
Interesting.
Um, I'm trying everything to get out of it. She's like, "Well, I'll meet you there," because I'm like, I get home,
Yeah.
I don't want to go back out the house once I leave home because I'm done by 5 o'clock.
Mhm.
Church doesn't. She's like, "Oh no, there's classes beforehand. I can meet you," and I'm like, "Fudge." How do I get? I couldn't get out
Yeah.
of it, so I went back.
Yeah.
That night, I gave my life to Christ.
Oh, how beautiful.
Um, but all the, it's like. It was talking on forgiveness.
Mm. Oof. And that's gonna be another episode we're gonna have with Miss Emma, but tonight. But oh my
Forgiveness, and of
goodness.
course, first
Yes.
thought is death,
Yeah.
so that's it
Hundred
broke me.
percent.
It just broke me, and I'm like, "Okay, Lord, okay." So there started my journey of trying to learn, and I don't take anything lightly. When I go do something, I go full force.
Yeah.
So there I
The
am.
99 you.
There I am. I'm getting into the Bible. I'm volunteering. I'm growing. I'm doing
Yeah.
things.
What was the hardest part for you though with because it's one thing to go to church, right? It's one thing to become involved because we can go through the motions, we can check the boxes. What was the hardest part for you, whether then or later in that journey of really understanding what it means to embrace that kind of healing and change that comes from living for
There-
Jesus?
um, being loved,
Whew.
being
So
loved,
foreign to so
knowing.
many of
I
us.
know, truly understanding His love.
Mm,
Because for me, the love I understood was conditional. The love I understood was abusive,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
um, and self-serving.
mm-hmm,
And I was good at also being that
mm-hmm,
because what I learned, one of the things I learned was I wanted so much not to not date someone like my dad or be around someone like my dad that I became my dad.
yep, mm-hmm,
So I was the one cheating. I was the
mm-hmm.
one, woman manizing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Little Miss Casanova over here.
Yes, it was, it and so to me that was the way I found love was through the attention,
Hmm.
through what I wore, showing what I had, because part of it I didn't get to when I was growing up
Hmm.
because,
Sheltered and all that.
my dad, we had to wear your, 3/4 sleeves, nothing revealing, shorts that you couldn't be hand length above the knee
Hmm.
type of thing. So when I got to, I was showing everything off. With God, it was like you have to find that balance of being mature in Him, still wanting to, I'm still trying to learn those things. It's like, okay, I don't need to show off my body to get attention.
Right.
I don't
To
need
feel
to
beautiful.
feel beautiful, to be loved,
Hmm.
because He loves me for who I am.
Exactly.
Which is why it was so difficult. That was one of the hardest thing until I truly understood who I was in God,
Hmm.
could I find the man that I have now.
How did you get to the point of understanding who you really are in God? And
Lots of
I was
studying,
gonna say it doesn't
lots of
have to be one answer because I for
Lots
me
of
it was a lot.
studying, lots of being broken, lots of,
Mm-hmm.
um, lots of women pouring into me, lots of bad relationships. And
Mm-hmm.
here's the thing, people talk about, God show me the red flags or God show me this. He does.
Yeah, all the
But
time.
are we listening?
Yeah.
Here's the
We're like,
thing.
oh, I'm the good at red.
Are we being obedient? Are we listening? When I learned what it meant to be submissive, and that's one of the hardest words for me, was
Hmm.
being submissive, because that's what I believe my mom was. I always said my
Oh.
mom was so weak because she was submissive to my dad. I never wanted to be that submissive woman.
Hmm.
Well,
Well.
that's not the way God puts it.
Mm-mm.
We are submit to him. We are
Mhm.
submit to my husband. But I have such an amazing husband, an amazing
Yes.
person who submits to God first. That
Yes.
is the biggest thing, is when you can have relationships, but if the man that you're dating does not submitting to God
Mhm.
first, you should
Mm-mm.
then you submitting to him, you're doing it in false,
Yep.
because he's not going to respect what your submission.
Yep.
Yeah, he's not going to respect your
Yeah.
submission to him, because then it's going to be used.
And we can encourage and we can lead, but we should never really be the leaders in the
Right.
relationship, right? They have to get to a point where you're like, hey, I'm happy to connect you, introduce you, but they got to take that role. And Greg has done such Greg is her husband, an incredible job.
He is such an amazing man because, well, I'm Latina. We have our attitudes. We
Yeah.
are very, especially, I don't think it's just Latinas. I think women in
Yeah.
general nowadays are very strong because we've had to be.
Yep.
The lives that we've led, the way our culture is too, we've had to become strong. We've had to, a lot of us are working, a lot of these, and that's hard to, for me to, like, I'm no longer working. So that's a whole different story in itself.
For another
But
episode, because we're gonna
right.
talk about that too.
But I'm no longer working, and that was one of the hardest things because I grew up, at 14, I was started working and giving my money to my dad. And then, it was my ex-husband was in control of it. And then I had to be in control of it, and I was in control of it, and it was just me and trying to make ends meet. And it was always trying to make ends meet. And then to be have someone say, "I'll take care of you." I'm like, "No, sir. I don't need you taking
Mhm.
care of me.
Mhm.
I can take care of myself. I've been taking care of myself all this time. I don't need you to take care of me."
It's so scary.
It still is.
Yeah. That's but she gives me hope, honestly.
It still is scary to know that I am completely dependent on my husband
I thought she was gonna
financially.
say, "I am completely loved and supported by my husband," because that's what I see.
I truly am. Well, that too.
Dependent on my husband. See, we're keeping it real here, okay? No matter how much time and education and experience with God we have, it's a struggle.
It
So,
is
for
hard
someone who's still in a season of struggling to make ends meet, what's one word of
well
advice or encouragement you could give them?
to be patient.
Oh, but that hurts. How
It
do
is
you do
hard
that when it hurts?
because
When you're
here's the thing:
hungry?
when man, those moments when it was just me and I'm down, there was one moment I had $200 in my account. I'm sorry, 210. And God told me to give $200 to this one guy who I found annoying and pompous, but he was at church, and
I'm not pompous.
well, because he reminded me so much of my ex.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Lord, why? No,
Yeah.
I can't. One, it's all I have.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be able to make it to the next week till the end of the week until I get paid because I still had a full week
Yeah.
to get paid because this was Sunday and I don't get paid till Friday. And I'm like, what am I gonna do? And all I could hear is like, bless this person. I'm like, okay. So I didn't even write a check because a check is saying I'm waiting for them to cash it.
Right. You
So
never
I pulled
know.
I
Yeah.
don't know. So I pulled out the $200,
Mm.
put it in an envelope, and handed it to him and just walked away. Just handed it to him. God told me to bless you because I didn't want any
Yeah.
thanks. I didn't want anything. I didn't want to know.
And you also didn't want to hear about it.
I didn't want to hear about it because because when you hand somebody like that, they're like, "Oh no, we can't."
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, you can't. All right, God, I did it, and now I'm gonna take it back
Yeah.
because that's
Yeah. You're human.
I'm human. The amazing way that God provided that week. My doctor took us out to lunch, which means I had leftover.
Mhm.
I had just so many little things that he provided for me that week. But then to hear that was just a little bit.
Mhm.
But the icing on the cake of what that money did. So it sent his daughter to camp. She went to camp and she gave her life to Christ that weekend.
How amazing.
So to
Oh
hear
my
that my
God.
obedience, I was a
Yes.
part of that because of my obedience.
Yes.
I don't know what would have happened had I not.
Yeah.
She may have been able to go with someone else
Right.
because God will do his thing anyways.
Mhm.
But because of my obedience, it was just another way of him showing me, look, I
You can trust
have
me.
you. Trust me.
Yes.
Trust me in the little because I have you.
Wow.
It may not be all you want,
Mhm.
yeah, you're eating leftover,
Mhm.
but you're eating.
Mhm. Well, leftovers.
I don't.
Oh, so she was really growing in her faith.
I don't like leftovers. That's my husband. He
Oh,
eats the leftovers. I'm not a big fan of
call me more
leftovers.
often. So be patient, but it sounds like even in that patience, that obedience takes courage.
Obedience takes
It doesn't
courage.
even have to make sense. You don't even have to really believe in it, right? In the moment, she's like, I don't want to do this. But being brave enough to say, I'm going to take that next step. This doesn't make sense, but I'm going to take that next step.
There's so many stories of that he did. I mean, even to the point where with my husband, because I went to the biblical college.
Mm-hmm.
How I ended up doing that was so my kids at one point were living with their dad. I was paying child support.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm working and I'm paying child support.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's what we get for being crazy sometimes.
yes,
I'm just kidding.
just the way things ended up, the way
I'm just
life was.
kidding.
I'm telling you, my kids love me.
Oh
My
yeah,
boys are
that's
amazing,
beautiful. Yeah.
but um, I was getting that. I was like, yes, I'm done with child support. I'm going to have this extra money. $800 a month.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
God's like, no, I want you to go to school.
And you're like, what?
Guess how much it cost me to go to school?
$800.
On payments was $800 a
Oh
month
my
to make it
gosh.
happen.
Oh my gosh.
To make it happen. So I'm like, "Mm, are you serious?"
Yep.
And you know the school,
Mhm.
so it's counseling.
Mhm.
I'm a hygienist. Counseling don't make what I
Yeah.
make.
It, and counseling, like you're talking to people about
I'm like, "Oh,
feelings and Jesus.
he's trying to grow me to talk to people. I don't like
And look at you
people.
right now.
I don't like people.
No.
No, I do.
We
It's
love
just
people because God has given us the heart, but we really don't like
yes,
people.
people are hard.
I like you because Jesus said to love you.
Yes, but people are hard.
Yeah.
And I'm hard. I'm not
Yeah.
easy, but
Yeah.
he's telling me to do this school. And so one, I'm already bulking because I'm what I thought I was going to have a surplus.
Mhm.
I'm now back to where I'm at, just making ends meet. I'm
Mhm.
like,
And doing
I'm
more work.
and doing more work, going to school and thinking, I'm not gonna, how am I going to make this happen? Do what you want, because if you're calling me to do this, that means you want me to counsel people and
Right.
do this
Right.
and still make ends meet. There's no way. There's no way. I'm barely making ends meet the way it
And you
is.
were still single at the time.
I'm still single at the time.
Yeah.
But God,
But God. By God.
but God. So of course he sends me my husband.
Mhm.
And that's a crazy story in itself.
Mhm.
Married within 5 months. Don't do that on Norm.
Been
That's
married what, 6 years
but
now?
now we've been married and it's good. It's really truly good. Um, not normal, but it's all God, God's obedience. And now I don't even have to work and I'm not stressing about
Mhm.
money
And she
because
feeds me sometimes.
of his like that. I mean, I graduated the year it's like we were married 1 year
Mhm.
when I graduated.
Mhm.
So I'm thinking, okay, I'm married now. I can do this counseling.
Mhm.
And I did it voluntarily
Yes,
for a
you did
year.
for a while. Yes.
Um, and then this whole other chapter in our life is now where we're
Yes,
at.
which that's part two. Let me ask you this: for someone who's just finally meeting a good, godly man, whether that godly man is seasoned in the faith or new in it, what's a word of advice or encouragement for someone or woman, if you're a guy listening? If they're not used to having that good, healthy love, like what's a word of advice or encouragement you would give them?
Accept it. That's truly it. Accept it because it's so like I kept wanting to push it away,
Mm-hmm.
because I wasn't used to it. I've seen so many red flags and I was willing to accept the red flags. And with a healthy love, I'm wanting to push it away
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't know how to handle it. Um, but I have such an amazing husband. He's like, "We're good. You're good." He's so patient with me. Even patience. Yeah, just accept it.
Yeah.
Be okay with it. And know that you're going to be. It's okay to question stuff, but always pray about it.
Mm-hmm.
Always take it to God. Always, God shows us the unhealthy. He will show you. Are you listening and are you being obedient? My obedience to my husband has been what changed everything. My submission to my husband,
Those are
which
big words.
they are. They are words I never thought I would be speaking, especially about a man.
But he takes
'Cause
such good care of your heart.
he does. And he like now he lets me just he knows I need a breather. He lets me get out.
Mhm.
And I know sometimes people says like he lets you. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he does. It is him letting me because he does, there's some, I had one who's like, "No, you're not going anywhere. No,
Mhm.
you're not doing
Mhm.
anything." And that's the thing. It's not just it's he checks on me to make sure that I made it here. No, he's not trying to control me and trying to make sure that I'm
Love.
it's because he cares to make sure that I made it where I'm going safe. And
Yeah.
we do the same for each other. He just wants to make sure that I'm okay. And I say he lets me more of the sense of, hey, go take care of what you need to do. Go and be okay. Take a break. You need some time for yourself.
Mhm.
And so yeah, he lets me and I'm okay with it.
And I love that he lets her because he puts up with me too. So seriously. Well, oh my gosh, I just can't thank you enough for sharing. She started this whole conversation with about how she doesn't like to open up and talk to people, especially about Jesus. She did both open up and talk about Jesus. So I'm proud of you and I'm thankful for you. I have a couple of questions for you.
Yes.
What if you had two or three books, top three books that you would recommend for people to read?
Ooh. Hmm. Oh, I can't even think of the
What's
name.
that one that you gave me that I haven't finished?
Yes, the one with the
Heart of
anger,
Anger.
the Heart of Anger. That is such a good one. And there's another one where it talks about it's I wish I could think of the name of it. It's explaining it has to do with how to talk, how to answer uh goodness, I can't think of the name. I wish you would have told me that one.
Well, we can always
Um
add it to the podcast
yeah.
episode later. Uh,
I will look it up because those are such good books when it talks about how to it's basically about resolving conflict. Oh, I think they might have to be called resolving conflict in a biblical manner. I don't think
oh,
that's the name of the book, but it's
okay.
very it's got that on there and it's such a good one. And then there's one book that I sent it to my son about marriage
Okay.
and that one as well. I'll get you the names of
Okay.
it,
I can
but
always add it to the
uh,
episode. What does Emma like to do for fun? Besides
um
hang out with me.
I like to read. I like to I love going now I'm like on a thing of walking. So most mornings I walk. It's my peace thing.
hmm
I love the beaches.
hmm
My husband, we love to go hiking and now with the our new journey, we take the boys with us to walks and stuff like that. 'Cause, you know, Nehemiah loves his walks and stuff. So walking is our thing and just getting outdoors.
Yeah.
We love
Oh
the
gosh, yeah.
outdoors. This, you know, together we love the outdoors. We used to like dancing. It's harder for us to go dancing.
Yeah.
Plus, my husband's not the greatest.
Hey. There's
He
hope.
tries.
There's hope.
He tries. He's so cute. He
He's from
tries.
Michigan. We'll talk about Greg a little
Mm,
more next time.
yeah.
What's something quirky, unique, funny about you that maybe people don't know?
Huh.
I mean, I think you're funny, but I mean, like something that's like unique that people
Unique.
maybe don't know. Like, for example, I have a phobia of frogs. My close friends know that. My family knows
Oh,
that. Mostly because they tease me, but what's
you
something
know what's the funniest thing is I was in the Navy and I
uh,
don't swim. I'm not a very
that's
like
a
I
great example.
I can do the backstroke, like that's what I did to pass the swim test in the military, but I cannot like swim.
A sailor who can't swim. That is definitely a fact. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Emma, for joining us. Thank you, Lola. I'm blessed. We've been friends for a little over 7 years now. And I am so thankful for every minute of it because you have been so patient and gracious and full of joy, honestly. And you don't hesitate to tell me how it is, which is a huge part of me getting to where I am at today. So thank you.
That's all God's love. It truly is. Because
Yes. Because we're crazy Latinos without them.
absolutely, I mean, we're crazy Latinos with him, but
Don't tell them.
not as bad.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. I
Thank you
love
for having
you.
me.
Bless you. That's right.
Yay!
That's it. Dun, dun, dun.